Good evening. We will call our December meeting to order. Welcome. We are so glad to have such a big crowd with us this evening. We'd love to think it's for all of us, but we know it's really not. We have some special things to talk about tonight and a whole lot of good things to celebrate here in the city of Radford. So thank you all so much for joining us. We would like to begin with our Pledge of Allegiance. So if you all will please stand and join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Now at this time, if you would join us in a moment of silent reflection, silent prayer, prepare for the meeting, however you choose to use this moment of silence. Thank you very much. Moving on with our agenda, we do have citizen comments on public matters. So if anybody's here that has a question, comment, concern that they'd like to share with us, please come down to the podium, use the microphone, state your name for the record, and limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. The floor is now open. You absolutely, I hope you will. I hope you will come in and talk about everything under the sun. That sounds good. You could do it now if you wanted to. All right, seeing no one come up for citizen comments, we will close that portion of the meeting. Council members, you all have the minutes from the November 12th, 2024 regular meeting. There were two small little typo changes that I sent to Jenny earlier today at the end of the minutes. Other than that, do we have a motion to approve as amended or any other changes?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we do have an opportunity to talk about a very important subject. The New River Resource Authority was a wonderful idea many decades ago that the city of Radford, Montgomery County, Pulaski County, towns of Dublin and Pulaski and Giles all got together to make a reality for us to be able to deal with our waste, recycling, and all those things that are so important. We asked Joe Levine to come here today. He is the executive director, and he is going to present a report on landfill operations. We also have our two board representatives here, Tom Starnes and Bob Asbury, also founding members of the authority. So, Joe, the floor is yours. Thank you for being here.
down the road, everything on the left is more conservation area, coming up on our clean water well house that we have here. And everything on the right, as you see, is clear. That whole area is 350 acres. Water tank up there, 100,000-gallon water tank. Built everything on the back side of the property, so we put a nice strip down the road. Old coal mines in the area. In this area, water is a little bit of sulfur. Out to fairs and festivals and kids. And we have a flare station there, and this is our power plant where we take the gas off the landfill. The way I describe a landfill is a big fancy bathtub. We have a litter fence on the left. Predominant wind comes out of the west. We have our active area where we call the tipping floor, where all the trucks come in. This area in the white that you see there, that's the new cell that we just built. Questions?
How long do you expect this particular portion of the landfill to be in service?
Very good question. Waste stream station. So we just opened 16 acres. So we'll have to open another cell, but we have 66 acres built. We have
And then you mentioned you have 350 additional acres beyond this particular area for the long-term future, right?
this is part of the 300.
Is it? Okay.
And we have a conceptual plan that will push so we got 100. I don't know where regulations go, where waste streams go.
Sure.
Yes, the treated water in the bathtub. So what do they use that water for? The treated water in the bathtub that drains out?
You take the dirty water out,
Yeah, you take the dirty water out, but so,
Pepper's Ferry, it's
Yeah.
treated, put back. All the rest of the dirty water.
oh, okay.
It's treated and then put
Okay, got you, okay.
I'd say keep going. I have other questions, but it's not based on your video. So one of the things we've recently been talking a lot about is the finances related to the facility. And that for many years, there have been collection of reserves for the city of Radford, for Pulaski, for Dublin. Can you talk a little bit about what those reserves are used for and about what level you're at now?
Well, the new resource authority has adopted on an annual budget. It contributes reserve monies to sales, closed sales, known expenditures that come from equipment. Also, hopefully, now, all the reserve funds are not just one money. We have earmarked in certain earmarked purpose, but if that is depleted, we have other. We have financial requirements through the state, our dates.
And that is dedicated, the state requires that, correct? That's what you're telling us. Part of the money, I believe, is dedicated toward preservation and any potential issues with the closed Ingalls Mountain landfill, correct? And that's here in the city of Radford off exit 105 that you talked about. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I think that's confusing for some folks knowing about that, since that was sort of at the very beginning of the authority before we shifted out, getting this property ready and everything along that line.
All the monies, first back to the members, Pulaski, Dublin, and Radford, to 97. All the original monies has already been.
Mhm.
All the reserve funds collected. During that time, we did earmark,
Are there requirements from the state on the Ingalls Mountain Reserve that has to be there as well? Yes. And is that part of the 14 million, or is that a separate? Okay, okay. Well, I don't want to dominate. Does anybody else have any questions?
Are you done? I don't want to interrupt your, if you're not done.
Presentation.
Do you want to, I'll let you finish that if you want. Is that it? Okay. So just for clarity, let's talk about all the reserves, because I know I've been communicated with other communities in regards to this, the reserve funds. So tell me, just specifically with reserves, what reserve accounts you have, how much you have to have there, and who specifies that, and what those funds are for.
financial insurance accounts. Those monies are with trust.
And you said this one 14-acre cell was about $450,000 to build, and when you have to close it, it's about $250,000, is that correct? An acre. Oh, an acre, okay. 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 Sure.
So I'm trying to do the math quickly. So with all the reserves combined, is it like 24 million? Okay. And I know that you had mentioned like the 14 million was set by the state. That's what we have to have. With these others, I know, the insurance policies are just that, the insurance policies. For the other accounts, how do we know what we have to have in those accounts? If the state dictates the 14 million, how do we know what we need to cover? Is it something that we're getting from, EPA, or how do we get those numbers? Who is that third party? And so the amounts that we currently have set aside in reserves, other than what the state has said that, have dictated, these other sums are what Thompson and Litton have said are required really to cover ourselves.
I don't have so much of a question as more of just a thanks. I've had the opportunity to tour this facility, and if you guys haven't, you should make some time to do it. It's incredible what you guys are able to do, and it's very well run. You've been doing this for a long time. I know at least one of your board members probably gives you some gray hair having to keep up with him, but you guys do a great job up there, and I mean, it's quite impressive what you all are able to do, and I appreciate you, one, taking the time today to show us and tell us a little more about that, and for your leadership and guidance. You guys do great work over there.
Thank you, Joe.
Joe,
Any other questions? Oh, go ahead, David.
Well, I was just going to mention, one of the things, the Resource Authority does a great job in doing this for us. Our bill is about $14,000 a month, and what you all do in managing the funds and managing the operation really is rate stabilization for us. I know you mentioned that a few times, and that helps us have to weather through some of these big swings. But I want to go back and just talk about the importance of how all of this protects Radford and Ingalls Mountain, because if something environmentally goes wrong out there, this will help take care of what could happen there, rather than you have to come back to the community, the original three communities anyway, for support.
Well, these facilities are in the name of New Resource Authority, so if we had to go, if somebody came to the table, DEQ or someone like that, New Resource Authority would have to handle that. It's not just one entity or going back to, because New River Resource Authority is a separate political subdivision. And so the appointees on the board are the board of directors, but not one is liable, the collective group. It's just on New Resource Authority. So yes, we build these reserve funds, and the board asked me 20 years ago, where do you want these reserve funds? I said 50 million. I don't know the number, but I know that in the future, when this doesn't have any income coming into it, like Ingalls Mountain, how do you fund what's coming? And we're now into our 30 years at Ingalls Mountain, and that's not going to go away. They may change the name to Continuous Care or something else, but we're always going to have a liability and a financial responsibility. So we got to keep building these funds for the unknowns in the future. Now, our rate stabilization comes with tonnage. Everything has an economy of scale, as you can appreciate. And as our go below 200,000 tons a year, we're getting below that economy of scale. We need to keep that number and about 230, about 240, so we can keep our rates where they are. We did a rate change in 06, 07, where we had a restructuring of our tip fees, had another one 2 years ago, and that's the only ones we've had in 17 years of changing our rates. been fortunate with that. We're gonna have to, but the models are showing that's not sustainable. So we're gonna have to look hard at our rates.
Any other questions?
I just had one question. Thank you for this presentation. I have yet to tour the facility, but I definitely look forward to coming out and seeing. It looks like you are doing some amazing things. The only question I had that wasn't already asked was, I noticed that your, the recycling percentage had gone down, and you said that that was due to not having some events, I guess, in 2023. It looked like it was down almost 10%, and I thought maybe you said you had to meet a threshold of 25%.
Yes.
What happens if you don't reach that recycling
We'll
threshold?
probably get a letter the first year with a
Okay, just a letter?
with a corrective plan.
Okay.
It won't be an NOV probably the first year, but it could be. You just
Okay.
don't know with the regulators. But they would have an action plan or something we'd have to implement to try to get that mandate met. But since we don't have our own collections, we only are the landfill, we don't have trucks or trailers, we are relying on everyone to submit the numbers. So we have to talk to everyone, all the businesses and all the areas to get the numbers sent to us on the recycling side. So our mandate really is
Based on them?
based on them.
Okay, all right. I was just curious. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Asbury, I was going to call on you and Tom.
What happened to the recycling? What was the impact that really created downturn in recycling?
They stopped accepting a lot of stuff, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They stopped taking materials that were coming from the facility in Montgomery County. And Bob, if I may just
Well, actually, if you're going to be up, I want to make sure everybody can hear you. Will you go over to the podium for us?
If I might return to Ingalls Mountain and the questions in regard to it, I assume everyone knows where Ingalls Mountain is, but to better describe it, it adjoins the Cumberly subdivision in the city of Radford, and is on the side of the mountain facing and adjoining Interstate 81. The watershed drainage from Ingalls Mountain is upstream from the city of Radford's raw water intake. Any issues related to problems there could be very, very bad. So just keep that in mind, and that's part of the forward thinking on the reserves too, to make sure that we can at least cover potential problems. I almost call it a catastrophe, but potential problems that could occur in the future, and they number in the many problems. And things that we haven't even dreamed of yet. One of the most recent that we're concerned with, that we have no definition on what will happen, is the PFAS, the forever chemicals. We know that's going to impact us in some way. And you can go on, and the regulations that drive the workings of the Resource Authority and the intellect and thinking of the board members that represent you and other jurisdictions are governed by those regulations. And if we take one step beyond what we need to do, then we consider it necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you.
you.
Tom, do you have anything you want to share with us, or are you good? Thank you, sir, and thank you both for your service on the board. We're so appreciative of you. Thank you, Joe, for the presentation this evening. Does anybody else have any other questions or comment?
I have a question on the recycling. So when we're saying that our recycling numbers are down, what I think about is that maybe we need to educate the community to make sure we're getting the materials you need in the manner and the state that you need them in. Is it that being the issue, or the issue is we, on the community side, we're doing everything we can do, it's just we don't have anyone to take it to meet those numbers? Like China's not taking it, so then we have to put it with the other refuse? How does that work?
Well, the numbers that let me back up. We send out letters to all, businesses and localities and everybody, and we've received most of those this year, like we have all the other years, just the numbers were down. So we could dive in and we could say, why were your numbers less for this or that? And really, we just didn't do that because we met our mandate. But the numbers themselves were just lower this year. I couldn't answer why. Now, on the recycling side of, as Mr. Asbury said, China really controlled that a few years ago. They just stopped receiving those, and our e-waste and all these other areas, they just stopped taking them. So I don't know why the numbers were down last year, but they just were.
But just to make sure, the numbers are down because, like, our community is not recycling at the same level.
As they were.
And then there's a whole separate issue with what we do with it on the inside. But you're saying our number's down, what we're bringing to recycle is down?
Yes.
Okay.
And as far as education goes, like I said, we're always available for tours. We have a lot of kids that come out annually. We have about 300 first and second graders from Montgomery County come out. That's a lot of fun to tour the sites. So we try our best to reach out and do those. And we, like I said, we send letters out asking for the numbers with the form on there of the way we want it sent back to us. And we do, for the most part, we have a pretty good response. It's just last year our numbers were down.
All right. Thank you so much. And, Bob, to your point, I did want to point out, Joy, you can have a seat. Thank you. Ingalls Mountain has always been a concern because you're right. If there were something there, we'd be real glad we have a few $1 million sitting there ready to handle the problem very quickly because the impact to the city of Radford could be immediate and something that would be a challenge for us. So thank you for bringing that up and for reiterating that. And again, thank you to you and Tom for your all service on this board for many years. And we appreciate that. Is there any other comment or question related to the New River Resource Authority? Okay, moving on. We will look at our old business, and council members, you have ordinance 1811, which is a right-of-way vacation. Shang Fong and Nicholas Olinger have requested that the vacation of a portion of the public right-of-way located between 9th Avenue and Prospect Street and Monroe Terrace be taken. It's for 1,700 square feet to expand property lines and areas adjacent property owners. We did have a public hearing scheduled at the September 23rd meeting, which was held October 14th. There were no comments. The appointment of a board of viewers was made, and they visited the site on October 23rd and recommended its vacation. At that point in time, City Council authorized the city attorney to prepare an ordinance vacating the right-of-way. So council members, you all have ordinance 1810. Do you have any comments, questions, concerns? Do we have a motion to adopt? So moved. We have a motion. Do we have a second? A motion and a second. Any discussion? Actually, this is ordinance 1810 or 1811? It's 11. All right, thank you. Jesse was just pointing that out to me. Sorry. So ordinance 1811, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Having heard 4 affirmative votes, we can dispense with a second reading if so desired. Do we have a motion to do so?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Before we move on to new business, there was one piece of old business that's not on the agenda that I'd like us to just discuss for just a moment. And I appreciate council's consideration of this. We have been working for, well, you always work on it, but we've been working for several years on the city's finances, working to try to address cash flow and moving in a positive direction. And I know there's interest in the community about how we're doing and where we're going. And I want to say a couple of things and then ask David for his thoughts on it. And we will have a fuller picture in the coming week or two as we are able to better account for the money that was brought in on December 5th when taxes were paid and everything along that line. But, revenue has been stronger, which is very good for the city. Certainly, council took some action both on the expenditure side over the last year as well as on the revenue side. David and his staff have taken some action on the expenditure side multiple times within the budget to try to figure out a way to make sure we stay cash flow positive. We have had some challenges. Hurricane Helene presented probably a total of about $1 million worth of damage along the New River area, and there were several projects that were must do today that couldn't wait 6 months, 12 months, 18 months until money comes in from the federal government or state government. And that's about $300,000. And so with that, that changes your dynamic just a little bit as you move through it. But David, what would you like to tell us about finances as of right now, and then where we're going?
Okay, well, I didn't put a formal presentation together, but as always, glad to answer any questions that the council may have. As you know, we are leaps and bounds better than we were a year ago. We have caught up, getting close to getting caught up within one bill of our AEP, which has been our big one. It's one of our most expensive bills to pay. We made a payment last week and one 2 weeks ago and one last week. Feeling good about where revenues are. We're starting to get, we always try to make sure that we got no less than try to keep $1 million as often as we possibly can. As you know, we work backwards from payroll and those benefits at any given time to be sure as revenues coming in that we're able to make payroll, and then from there meet all of our accounts payable, which is current as of the end of last week. So feel pretty good about that point. I'll feel better once I see the revenues from this past December 5th, which was our deadline, not counting what may be late or non-pay or anything along those lines, but making sure that that part of it comes in as expected. Hope to get another, if revenue looks good, get another AEP bill, which will catch us up to the current billing. And then also, won't make any promises, but hopefully get a little down on the rand. I don't want to leave you all so tight that when Craig starts up in January, I want to make sure that you've got enough to carry you through for a few months. So while I think we may be comfortable to be able to do some on that, I want to make sure that that's absolutely the way to go before it's done. So, we live and breathe and sleep with this tonight. I see so many of my staff members, and I got to thank them. As you all know, the cuts that we did initially in the budget, the cuts that we took on during the course of this past summer, and then the indirect costs that I've worked with staff on holding things back, not doing things that we necessarily don't need to do, hold those off until next year till we make sure that the position is really good. Trying to advance those along as we're going, and staff has done a super job of watching that and entertaining it, and it's really must do, to dos, that kind of thing that we're checking off the list. We had not expected Hurricane Elaine, which is a little over $300,000 now. We may have another $100,000 of the must-do types of things to be able to get us back. So our fields are in play by the springtime, and then also that we have the picnic shelters ready to go. And then one of the biggest things is animal control. Jerry and his team and our building officials have done a great job of taking the worst of our situation down there, eliminating a building that we don't think will be needed down the road. I'm not thinking that this old sewer pump station, which Bob Asbury and Tom Starnes are here, they know how that is. It's been around a long, long time, was closed out and made for reuse for a number of things over the years, but then served us as animal control. The building has had some age on it, and every time it floods, water comes up through the basement. So hopefully we can eliminate that in the next year, but the garage facility behind is a lot of square footage, near 2,000 square feet, and that's going to serve as a really, really nice operations area. It has been approved by the Department of Agriculture, which is where those approvals lie, and we've got everybody turned loose, so I hope you're going to start seeing some things next week, and animal control in about 60 days will be in its new location, and it's on a little higher ground. It's not as high as we'd like it to be, but hopefully with it not being impacted by the very low spot of the basement of the old original sewage treatment plant from decades ago, we'll be able to serve our needs down the road. So everything that we've been doing has been methodical, as you all know, throughout the past few years. In the decades I've been with the city now, and the decades I've learned from things in the past, I don't know that we would have ever expected a pandemic, double-digit inflation, triple-digit inflation in some cases, the effect on employment, the effect on the economy, and the effect on the people, and one of our largest employers now in the university, and its impact on students in our community, that kind of thing. So all of those things together have contributed to the challenges, and we're making lemonade as everywhere we can. And unfortunately, my time is coming to an end, but I'm hoping that it's going to be in a good spot, and we've moved things forward to a position that it will be positive in the next few months, and particularly by the time you get to July 1st of '25.
Well, and a couple of notes, you know, we had hoped that we would be able to pay more on the RAN in October and December. Helene just made that challenging for us, because the whole point of having the revenue anticipation note is having cash flow readily available so that we're able to do the things that we need to do. And we don't want to put ourselves between a rock and a hard place there, as David has stated, and he's certainly managing that. But having said that, David's work may be coming to an end on this, and I know you're doing a great job getting us to a good handoff part, but we're going to keep working on it. And in January, we're already talking about having some additional meetings as we start with Mr. Meadows coming on board as manager for council to continue to look at everything, see where we are, trying to make sure that pre-budget we're getting everything done that we can do to address things before we get into the 25-26 budget, which will start not long after that. But I just wanted to point out that nobody's forgotten about it. Everybody's still working on it, and I know all of our staff have, and we're so appreciative of everybody for all the hard work they've done. Council members, do you all have any questions?
Just a couple of other quick things. I was going to mention this during my comments, but audit is near ready. Callista and I have had an exit, oh, there she is, exit interview that's gone well, nothing material, which is always good. So you'll have that in January. As everybody knows, and colleagues that are here, you never stop budgeting, you never stop working on finance. You go from one audit cycle to budget cycle to implementation cycle to audit cycle to budget cycle. You know, it just is not an ongoing thing. So it's not something you get to that point and where we get comfortable that you stop. The next point is to get those reserves back up to our target goals and make that all work for our community. So those are the kinds of things that are constantly on our minds, the minds of staff, and as we move forward.
Okay. Council members, you all have
That kind of
questions?
help you all a little bit. Any questions? Should have some more. I'll give you a little bit more later in the week, which will be helpful as we kind of wrap up the calendar year and move to transition between me and Craig coming on board in the next steps. So thank you all. Appreciate the community's patience in this process. It has not been easy, but it has been one that we have been on every day, single day.
Yeah. Well, I apologize. I didn't see anywhere on the agenda that we were having this discussion tonight. But David, thank you. I know we've had numerous emails where we've talked about everything, and we'll hit the ground running in January and get started earlier on budget. But thank you for the email updates that you've been sending us and keeping us up to date with everything.
Great.
Do you want to touch briefly on FEMA and how they're part of the process?
Oh, I'd rather not. No, as council knows, FEMA has been, Jenny is on calls with them twice a week, whether it's the grant side or the claims side for us. There are some grants that the governor may be implementing that may help us through Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development that we'll be looking at as we're going, y'all will be looking at as we're going forward. We've got our pulse on those at this point. But keeping up with that, I think, you know, impacts of how the floodplain is managed, how it's going to ultimately be mapped, are going to be our big things. The FEMA process, which we've been through, I guess probably the biggest FEMA claim we've ever had, and Tim, Bob, Tom, y'all know, it was an ice storm that happened several decades ago, and you work to try to turn all this in. You know, if we get 80%, which they're talking about, but it may be a couple of years out before you see that funding, it's going to take a little bit of time. We've done all of the dotting of the I's, crossing of the T's, submittal of the paperwork, all of that follow-up. Jenny, is there anything I'm missing in that? FEMA, I got to say, FEMA's done a great job, especially VDM. VDM has been here and helped us a whole lot in this process. Our elected senators and House of Representatives, both state and national representatives, have been here. The governor, lieutenant governor, have looked at our community. We've had a whole host of tours, so they've seen everything and know, and hopefully, you know, we'll see something. Particularly, we've got our eyes on animal control. pickleball courts are our two biggest things. But one of the things we're concerned about, and one that we were at the Peppers Ferry meeting the other day, is, you know, this impact does not stop with a lane. Grit, mud, that kind of thing got into the water treatment plant. It got into other areas. It could be that it affected motors that may not go out a cycle in this current few months or whatever, or did not happen initially in September when the lane came through. So we're going to be watching that to see down the road, you know, are there going to be other expenses? Right now, they've technically, I think, set up 18 months kind of as that window of reporting, but the concern is what's going to happen further down as motors at Peppers Ferry, which we're a member of, fail. Motors that may be in our water treatment plant. We did have Don spent a lot of time at night up with the Gibsondale pump station, and it went totally underwater. So what impact that has will be something we'll be watching. But FEMA's been here, they've been reported to, and hopefully, I think we're going to see something, but no formulas yet. As you know, a huge area is impacted from just this side of Roanoke. We were brought into the declaration, us and several New River Valley communities, and it goes all the way out to North Carolina and Tennessee, who was very hard struck. We did not, fortunately, have residential damage. We did have a couple of businesses that saw some issues. Does that kind of cover your question, Jesse? Okay.
That covers it. I thought we should hit on that when we're talking.
Thank you. Good point.
Does anybody else have any questions this evening? I know there's
Yeah.
lots of questions, but yeah. Go
Well,
ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you. I didn't see it on the agenda either, and you're always really good about sending us updates for financial things and what's going on with our accounts payable and things that are coming down the pipeline. And I know it's difficult to try to get something, you know, together because you like to be very accurate and give a good presentation. So, and it's difficult to do that when you don't have all your numbers. You haven't really gotten to see everything in, so I appreciate the update. Quick ask, so thank you.
And I appreciate you all putting up with me kind of moving things around. We've been discussing that during manager comments, but with the flow of the meeting this evening, I thought it might work better under old business just for us to at least have a conversation about it. Any other old business for us to consider? Moving on to new business, we have been looking at battery storage systems for the city of Radford for quite some time. This has been going on for several years, and our electric department and our administrative team has been working with the Blue Ridge Power Agency and our consultant GDS for options on these systems. What this would do is allow us to charge them up during the day, discharge during peaks, and to provide some benefit to the city. Light Shift Energy provided a proposal in response to the procurement request by Blue Ridge Power to own, operate, and maintain a battery storage system to benefit the electronic system and reduce customer costs related to transmission costs. A 4 or 8 megawatt facility would be provided for a 20-year term, and we have a resolution that we're going to consider this evening. But before we do that, Tim Logwood, who is our utilities director, will provide an overview of the project. So Tim, the floor is yours.
I will say one quick thing about Tim. He has been persistent. This, as you well know, and our purchase power agreement has been very challenging. A lot of moving targets these days. This battery storage is something new. It's changed a good bit over the last, 18 months since it was first reviewed. I just want to thank Tim for all his work, dedication to this matter. It's a very big deal in both your purchase power, short-term, long-term, as well as these options that are going to help us with peak shave. That will add to the hydro that's about 4% of peak shave, and this will be about the same amount. So that, just leading in, thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, for once again letting me come here and discuss a potential project. I may not have a project review as, you know, I wanted to provide a summary mainly of the finances as we talk about it tonight. Project site, I will let you know about that. We've talked to the EDA and briefed them on where this site would be. It would be next to a substation for the old VCI property that the city purchased and transferred to the EDA. So that would be the site location. I'm sorry I didn't bring any pictures of that tonight. I know I've shared those pictures with you all, but I didn't do that for the public tonight. But I did want to answer why we're doing this, and, you know, one of the reasons the biggest reason is to save our customers money, right, down the road. That's the goal. These two factors here, capacity, which is PJM capacity, or after the end of our APCO contract, we will be responsible for paying for PJM market, and we'll also continue paying a transmission bill. And as you mentioned, just like the hydro, if we can shave those peaks, we can reduce what our capacity obligation payments are, and those will save the city quite a bit of money over the 20-year term. So this is a shared resource. The developer, when we're not shaving peaks, they can discharge the batteries and make money on the market. So they, you know, it benefits them, it benefits us, and, you know, we pay part of that cost for our use of it, and it's a mutual benefit for the city and the developer. This is a 15-year cost benefit on a 4 megawatt, and as the mayor indicated, the resolution is written for either a 4 or up to 8 megawatts. You can see the cumulative peak shaving benefit, over $20 million over, you know, 15 years at a cost of about $9.1 million. So the net benefit there pays back in roughly 6 years. So the economics are very favorable for either a 4 megawatt or an 8 megawatt. I'll show you the 8 megawatt. The economics are better with an 8 megawatt. And, you know, my recommendation is probably a 4 megawatt. I think it's a better fit for our system. It reduces some potential, you know, risk in the project. But just a summary here. You know, the economics of the energy storage are very favorable. The energy storage service agreement payment reduction proposed by the developer remains important commercial item that backstops the economics of the project. One thing we've seen with our hydro plant and peak shaving, sometimes the peak is going out. We don't have enough water. You know, we may peak shave for 3 hours, and, you know, 4 hours we might be hitting a peak. So if, you know, these batteries, we can extend it, the timeline, and that's derated. So if we run it for 4 hours or 6 hours, we'll still get the benefits of peak shaving. But if we have to run it out to 4 hours or 6 hours, our payments are reduced to the developer. So, but the resolution tonight that you are considering authorizes the city manager, David or Craig, or to finalize and execute the energy storage service agreement, and the city attorney to negotiate an interconnection agreement. So with any distributed energy resource that connects to our system, we have to have an interconnection agreement. So that we haven't begun work on that. And the developer will have to have a lease with the EDA, either a site access agreement probably, and also a lease agreement for the 20-year term. So, do you have any questions on anything? I know we've talked a lot about it, and
I was just going to mention in the timing of it that we think the system would be built in by 2026, with the first year of operation probably being 2027. Is that what we're anticipating?
most likely, you know, it would be nice to have it in by the summer of 26. I'm not sure if that's obtainable or not. So,
Council members, what questions do you all have?
I don't think it's so much as a question. This is something we've spent a lot of time on, but just so that we're clear and transparent with all of our constituents, we won't see any benefit in this until about year 2028, correct?
yeah, the second year of operation,
Right.
we will, because the first year we're not peak shaving. We would just pay a subscription, you know, charge to the developer for that, so.
And I know we've asked a lot about the cost associated with that, and you've given us some numbers. And if you extrapolate that out over 12 months per, account opened up, they are pretty minimal when you look at it that way. But the long-term benefits of this could be pretty substantial. Would you agree with that?
Correct. There's been other utilities that, even our Blue Ridge group, the city of Salem, has gone with a 4 megawatt. We've got 2 co-ops that have also, in our group, have an agreement with Light Shift. In the city of Danville, they're not a member of Blue Ridge, but they just signed a 12 megawatt with the same company, so. 12, yeah. They're a lot bigger system, so they can handle 12 megawatts. So.
Well, and I like that we've had these discussions, as Seth has mentioned, and we have the resolution written so it could be a 4 or 8, or we could add 4 if the 4 is working well without having to go through a whole process again. So we've kind of, built some of that in to see how it goes and see what works well with our system. Any other questions?
Just for review, can you just confirm who pays for that initial infrastructure?
The developer, they finance it, they own it, they maintain it, they operate it. So we pay them to do all that. So.
And how many electric accounts or users do we have in the city?
Around
Just-
7,500.
Okay, I wasn't too far off of my number, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's how many electric bills we have, okay.
Any other questions? Tim, thank you so much
Thank
for all
you
your
all.
work, and David and the whole team. This has been going on for years, that we've been looking at this, trying to figure it out and make everything work. Okay, council, I'll actually open up the floor for discussion before we get into the resolution itself. Where is everybody on this, and where do we think we want to go?
I like the idea of starting out with the 4, with the option to increase as we see how this works out. And also, who knows, in 4 or 5 years, what other technology and, what other options we might have. So I think 4 is a good starting place for us.
I agree with the 4. There is some risk associated with it, but there is a long-term return on investment that I do think will be beneficial, as the cost is not going to decrease for power over the future. And this does kind of like our Little River Dam, how that can shave off some peak and save us some benefits down the road. I do think that this is another opportunity for it, but there were some question marks, and we've worked diligently through it. So I'm at a better place to move forward with the 4 megawatt.
Any other thoughts? Well, council, you all have the resolution to approve energy storage services between DeLorean Power doing business as Light Shift Energy and the city of Radford. Do we have a motion to approve? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. And thank you all for the hard work. This is, the electric department has been such a benefit and such a wonderful resource for the city for its entire existence. This helps to ensure it continues to do that, and it's an innovative way, even though Seth said there is some risk associated with it, but with that innovation, we're at least taking every opportunity to make sure the electric department stays profitable, solvent, and functional for all of us. So that's a very good thing.
Mayor, might also, just for the public's knowledge, our electric system is not just within the corporate limits of the city. It does extend out to Little River Dam. So when we're talking about that customer number earlier, it also includes the Farallon area, generally over to about the slump there, I guess, at Cookout, somewhere in that area, and then back over into the residential on both sides.
Thank you. Okay, council, under our next item of new business, we have appointments to boards and commissions. I don't know that we have any nominees for Mount Rogers Workforce at this point. Does anybody have any names they want to put forward? I know we're still working on that.
Yeah. Not yet.
Okay.
And like I said, before I nominate them, I'll have a sidebar with them.
Yep. Let's postpone that then, and we'll revisit it in January. For New River Resource Authority, I would like to nominate Bob Asbury to continue in his role. He's done an amazing job, and as you heard tonight, he continues to provide us with guidance and leadership and support, and has an incredible amount of knowledge on that. Do we have any other nominees or anyone else we want to consider?
No, I'll just add on and thank Bob for your many, many years of service. You and my grandfather and Joe, you guys do a great job and appreciate your leadership, and your knowledge is invaluable, and we appreciate everything that you continue to do for the city. So I'd be happy to second that motion.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? You're still rolling with us, and we appreciate it.
Would
Well-
it be, I was going to say, would it be possible, just so the folks who are watching have an idea, the Mount Rogers Workforce Council, can you give a brief description of that so folks know if that some of them might be in their wheelhouse or not?
Yeah, Jenny helped me along with this, but generally what I know about it in the years that I've been involved with it, it has evolved considerably over the years. It used to be strictly workforce, but now they provide job training, they provide grant opportunities. I think there were some grant opportunities through that area through Helene. They also try to help anytime there's training, work with community colleges and all to help promote and advance business success and economic development activities in the region.
I
a
think
great
it would be a
entry.
great position for somebody who might have a flexible schedule.
Yeah.
They meet, I think,
Move around a lot with
yeah,
the travel. It's not
like
here
it's
in
not
town. That's part of the
necessarily,
problem.
it's a further meeting sometimes, so I think that.
A lot of times
that-
down in
yeah,
Whitfield.
Down,
Yeah.
like with the Lavington area sometimes, so, yeah.
But they do, Marty and her team do a great job of providing a lot of services for us.
Okay. Well, we will reconsider that again in the future. If you're interested out there, if you're interested in economic development, job training, anything along that line, we would love to have you participate with us. Someone who maybe worked in that before and is looking for something in retirement, that would work. So that could work as well. So to your point, Jesse, we actually have received a grant in the amount of $11,033 from the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality. And that will be used to support litter prevention, but also recycling efforts, as well as promotion of environmentally friendly activities and education. So we can better help get our numbers up. And I was going to mention that, but we knew it was coming up during the presentation. So Council, you have appropriation ordinance 1802.16 in the amount of $11,033. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion, do we have a second? Second. A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Having heard 4 affirmative votes, we can dispense with a second reading if so desired. Is there a motion to do so? So moved. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And then our library, which is all kinds of incredible, has, a patron has gifted the library $240,000. The funds are to be used to purchase books and support literacy programs. This is the Bowling Trust and Appropriation Ordinance 1802.17. I can't think of a better way to support literacy in our community, and a wonderful servant of the community is the Radford Public Library. Council, what's your pleasure on ordinance 1802.17? Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Having heard 4 affirmative votes, we can dispense with a second reading if so desired. Do we have a motion to do so?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so this is a really important part of our meeting tonight because we always want to say thank you to those who have given service to our community and to those who have served their fellow citizens here in the city of Radford. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to move things around in the meeting just a little bit, because it made for this to work out a little bit better. Mr. Davis has served for the last 2 years, and we want to say thank you for serving on our council. And Ms. Artrip has a proclamation to that effect.
All right. City of Radford proclamation honoring Mr. Bobby Davis. Whereas Mr. Bobby Davis has served the city of Radford, Virginia in a variety of capacities, from community leader to diligent supporter of the citizens for the past 2 years. And whereas Mr. Davis has served with distinction on the Radford City Council for 2 years, from 2022 to 2024 as a member of council. And whereas Mr. Davis has been a dedicated representative of the voices of the citizens of Radford. And whereas Mr. Davis has served on boards and commissions, including New River Valley Community Services. And whereas Mr. Davis has been an advocate for Radford and all it has to offer, championing Radford's parks and outdoor recreations and all Radford has to offer. And whereas Mr. Davis has faithfully discharged the duties of his office through regular attendance at city council meetings and boards and commissions meetings and represented the city in community, regional, and statewide events. And whereas the citizens of the city of Radford are forever grateful to Bobby Davis for his efforts on their behalf. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Radford City Council does hereby honor Mr. Bobby Davis for his dedication and service by presenting him with a key to the city of Radford and naming December 30th, 2024, Mr. Bobby Davis Day in the city of Radford.
So I take it that is a motion you would like to extend? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Congratulations, Bobby. Why don't we come down front and present you with a couple little items of our appreciation? Bring your family down if you'd like to, absolutely. Bobby, we have a key to the city for you, and that unlocks the back door south, so there you go.
Thank you so much.
Not that I will run again, no, but if I had to do all over with again, definitely. Like family. I can't, when I was nervous, obviously, coming here. Relatives like, you're the first politician we've ever had. I'm like, I'm not a politician. But I just want to say that everybody on city council in the behind, everybody thinks, how's it really going and all that. No politics up here. Vote for effort. I always want to make sure that everything, that's the biggest thing. So blessed to have David retiring at the same time that I'm, that I'm.
We're having coffee.
Yeah, we'll do the coffee, yes.
Two others can join us after.
So thank you, Radford City, and thank you.
Thank you for coming up to me. And Bobby, we thank you for your kind comments and for all your service, and thank you to your whole family for allowing you to be a part of our little team here for the last few years. We appreciate it. We appreciate all of you for the support. This is a season of transition and a season of change, and we've had some pretty big changes with some things happening. And one member who has been part of the Parks and Recreation Department for 45 years has been involved in just about everything, from refereeing sports to managing to making sure everything's going to work okay. And certainly he has been a great asset to us. And Greg Holbrook has served as director for the past 2 years, and we are so appreciative. He's retiring January 1st, and don't know what we'll do without you. But we do have a little proclamation that I believe Seth, as our representative on the Rec Commission, is going to read. Seth?
Well, before I get to that, I just want to say that, Greg, you represent everything that's good in Radford, and when you have guys, many of them in here who have given years and years and years to this city, I think it's a testament to how special this city is and what you've done for the children and the people that work with you. It's been an honor to work for you and now with you. You're a good man. You've done good things for this city. You're what Radford's all about, just like many of the men in this room. And so, with that being said, City of Radford Resolution honoring Greg Holbrook. Whereas the Radford City Council honors the service and contributions of Greg Holbrook to the City of Radford, and whereas Greg has served the City of Radford Parks and Recreation Department for 31 years full-time with an additional 5 years part-time, and whereas in his tenure with the Recreation Department, Greg has served as a summer park aide, youth volunteer coach, the athletic coordinator, the Parks and Recreation supervisor, interim Parks and Recreation director, and the Parks and Recreation director. And whereas Greg's contributions to the Recreation Department include helping organize the New River Valley Sandlot Football League, serving as the director for 5 years. And whereas Greg has organized and directed many youth sports tournaments, including the Joe Hodge Baseball Tournament, Marvin Sutphin Invitational Basketball Tournament, and Keith Crowder Memorial Basketball Tournament. Greg also has a tournament director for Dixie Youth State Baseball Tournaments and numerous Dixie League Boys and Girls District Tournaments. And whereas Greg has been instrumental in the installation of all the fitness areas in the Radford Recreation Center, as well as the development and construction of James Oakley Field's Playground Project and Hodge Field Renovation Project. And whereas Greg is recognized by his peers in the New River Valley and across the Commonwealth as a leading professional and is often called upon for guidance and advice. And whereas Greg's contributions to youth sports have helped the growth and develop the program into what it is today, and the program is exemplary and enjoyed by all. And whereas Greg Holbrook has served Radford with dedication, expert knowledge, and love of the profession, the outdoors, as well as the public and private recreational activities. Now therefore be it resolved that the City of Radford does hereby honor and thank Greg Holbrook for his years of leadership and dedicated service to our community. Council, I'd like to make a motion that we accept this proclamation.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I think that deserves a round of applause as well. Come on down front, Council.
build the Radford Recreation Center. It does so much for the kids in Radford and adults. We have programs for all ages. That was a big chunk of money, I know, to do that, but what it turned is
It's kind of an emotional evening. We can't thank everybody who has served this city enough for their dedication, whether it be here on council or as Parks and Rec Director. We're so fortunate to have former Mayor Tom Starnes and former City Manager Bob Asbury here. It's serendipitous that we were having the presentation for the Resource Authority, but we're glad you're here, and it's fitting that you're here. Because we need to honor someone else who is retiring from the city, and we're going to do a little something else later in the week, but tonight we wanted to take a moment to recognize David Ridpath. And I do have a resolution I'd like to present. Whereas the Radford City Council honors the service and contributions of David Ridpath to the city of Radford, and whereas Mr. Ridpath has served the city of Radford for 40 years in various work capacities, and whereas in his tenure with the city of Radford, Mr. Ridpath has served as the Assistant City Planner, Community Assistant Coordinator, Economic Development Coordinator, Director of Planning and Community Development, Assistant City Manager, and City Manager. And whereas Mr. Ridpath has many accomplishments during his career, including community development and revitalization, updated facilities, exceptional community services, responsiveness to citizens' requests, and innovative programming, to name a few. And whereas Mr. Ridpath's 15 years as manager have been marked by investment in public safety, commercial investment and revitalization, recreational tourism enhancements, and public education and infrastructure improvements, and whereas Radford has been known for quality, reliable service, and that is thanks to Mr. Ridpath and his investment in staff and the community, and whereas Mr. Ridpath has always carried the hearts of those who serve in the city of Radford with him. He instills not only a sense of dedication to community, service, and integrity in his people, but mentors staff by defining key attributes in everyone that will help further their career. Leading from the front, Mr. Ridpath fosters a family-like atmosphere with close-knit relationships and support for fellow employees. And whereas Mr. Ridpath's legacy will be unwavering dedication to Radford from the citizens of the community to the staff that he serves alongside. Radford is a better place with a bright future thanks to Mr. Ridpath's leadership. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Radford does hereby honor and thank David Ridpath for his 40 years of leadership and dedicated service to our community, and wishes him continued success and happiness in all his future endeavors. And be it further resolved that the City Council of the City of Radford does hereby dedicate a bench in front of the Public Safety Building in Ridpath's honor and names January 1st, 2025, Mr. David Ridpath Day in the City of Radford. Council, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt this resolution. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. David, congratulations. Come on down front. You don't get to speak in just a minute.
Words first.
You can say whatever you want to say. Yes, sir.
I,
This is your time.
I've got to say this, gosh, I'm after you guys, because if you knew anything about this, I'm so honored. This has been a great council to work with. I've enjoyed so much working with you all 2 years, and 4 years, and 6 years. The councils before me. The one thing that's been said tonight, over and over again, is how much our elected folks, our employees, love Radford. You know, that's something, you don't do this lightly. I mean, it's harder every day. I watch it, I see it, and I know how much harder it is today than it was when I first started. I've laughed with staff. I've said, you know, 40 years is gosh, you go in a blink of an eye. It's just hard to believe. I think Greg would say the same thing, how fast it's happened. My 40 years of experience has gone in a blink of an eye. The 40 years is probably more than that. It's probably 80 years because I've got these folks over here. Bob Asbury, hired me in 1984. Took a chance on me for all of those things that you all read off. Tom Starnes was my first mayor, hired me as acting city manager in 2009, and then he and the council appointed me as city manager in 2010. So it has been a life of love, and as you all know, it's a family experience. So my wife and daughter are here, and y'all won't have to ask me now, well, where are you going tonight? What cold water situation? Don's going to miss me out in the middle of the night, and you guys on special events and that kind of thing. So, it's something I've thrown my whole heart in. I felt like being on the job, out there with folks has been important. And, folks like this, it's not the 40 years. It's generations. It's 80 years of knowledge, and hopefully I've extended upon all my young staff here going forward that they carry whatever knowledge that I may have helped them with, carry that forward. So it has been something I've loved to do. Not too many folks get to be born and raised and live in their community. And I thought in my senior year of college I would be moving on to somewhere else, and lo and behold, I get a phone call, come to work for me on Monday. So I thank you, and I thank you all for your love for Radford and giving the opportunities to create the 40 years. I couldn't go through this without saying, my parents, they instilled in me, work hard, live a good, honest life and help others. And that's what I've done. And God set the plan. He put all you all around me, and now it's time to shut up. But when I look out into the audience, oh my gosh, I could not ask for a better staff. I've got to appoint all of you all, and not too many people get to go through their career these days and have folks that stay with them 2 and 5 and 10 and 20 years. And you all have been, gosh, Juanita held Abby when she was a little bitty baby. And same thing, her girl sat in my lap. So, we are a family. What we have done together has been for love of our community, and hopefully it'll be something that will be seen generations ahead, as Bobby said. So I just can't say enough thank you. It's meant as much to me as I hope it has been to you all. It's been an important part of my life. It's been a big part of my life since I was involved in Student Government Day. I never knew Nell Hatcher, and Bob Asbury would have me going down this path, and I sat in many hours in his office working on papers. I don't know if you remember all that. I did a paper on the inflow-infiltration separation that I still talk about today, one of the biggest construction projects that tore up Radford from one end to the other. So that was one of my theses for a project I worked on in college. But everybody in this room, others that aren't here tonight, thank you all. I love you, and I appreciate you, and I love our community, love my family, and thank you all for everything you have done. And I was out in the rain a bit this morning, so I've got my little hoarse today, but thank you all, and I just appreciate so much. And thank you, City Council. Y'all have been fantastic. So. Counselor, you're going to stay with me. No, I'm with Counselor.
No. Then when you've got one of us, you all get up close there. Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
Well, David, I know we're all going to have something we want to say, but we want to let you have any more of the floor that you want. You can be done if you want to be done, or you could say whatever else you'd
I'm
like.
well done till you're ready for manager's comments. I got a couple of reports, but again, thank you. I'm truly humbled. I don't like any, that's why I chose public service. I don't like any attention on me, but boy, you don't get around that too easily. So, yeah, that is something different. So again, just thank you. I'll have more to say later on as we get closer. It's hard to believe, come this fast. I didn't think the last few months would go as fast to
I know.
retirement as they're going. So 2 weeks to go.
Blink
3
of an
weeks to go.
eye. Well, what else do you have for us this evening?
Okay, just a couple of quick things related to comments. As you know, the parade is tomorrow night at 7. We're flirting with weather issues at this point. We're going to try to go no matter what. If we get a little bit of drizzle around it, we'll be okay. But I think it's better to try to go if we can rather than try to reschedule because we're moving in a week before Christmas. We got probably one of the heaviest parade entries. Greg's gone. Parade entries that we've had in a long time. So Christmas parade is on for tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. We'll make announcements in the morning. If that gets to be too dramatic of an issue or safety, it's going to be our main thing to make sure that that occurs. And Jenny will get something out and rec department as quick as possible on that. I wanted to say, Elizabeth, our award-winning library team did another award-winning event. Tree lighting ceremony was outstanding last week. The tree is gorgeous. Its new location is gorgeous. I think this is our second or third year for that spot, second year. And thank you to the electric department for putting all the lights, Public Works for cleaning everything up, and Elizabeth, to you and your team for making that such a special event for children, both young and old, so we do appreciate that. And then I want to say a couple of things. I'm going to get Jenny to do just a brief overview, and Don, if you got anything to add. The lead pipe study, I know you all have gotten some questions about it. We've tried to put information out there. We don't know the answers to some of the questions, and if the folks don't know, they just need to turn in the surveys as best they can. Jenny's going to do a quick review of that. I'll get you done in a couple of minutes. And then we'll put some more out, but it's been on our website. Jenny, roll with that, what you know. And
Yeah, I'll go ahead and speak really quickly to it, and then there are probably better experts in the audience if you have questions that I don't know the answer to. But yeah, so we've been working on this. That's why I got Dawn to come here. No, the lead service line inventory questionnaire has gone out, and we've gotten a lot of questions back on it. So it's a state and EPA mandated program. And so the point is to find those inventory lead lines so that are underground. So this could be a feeding line from the city or a customer service line. And then those houses built prior to 1985 could possibly have lead. That doesn't mean they do, it means they could. All households were sent that mailer, and I think at this point we've received about 220 mailers back, and then there was a statistical model done to randomly select areas within the city to pothole and look at existing lines. 600 random areas were selected for potholing, with 300 on the customer side and 300 on the city side. So far, they've completed about 270 of those, and no city lines have lead in them at this point. We did receive one of the mailers that one customer service line did have lead. At this point, once the inventory is completed, there's a possibility that state funding could be available to help mitigate and replace those service lines. So that's the point. If you have any questions or there's information on our website, there's a whole webpage dedicated to that where you can go and fill out the survey and contact us if you have questions for that.
we're also, as this goes along, we're going to be potholing 600 potholes possibly, right, Jay? Don, so we're going to be making sure we're keeping in touch with the public. Don and his team, Jay and his team, both engineering and water, wastewater, as well as Brad and Wade up at the water treatment plant. We're trying to get out as much information as we can, and Jenny answering questions that may be out there, because this is a big deal. It came about as a result, as you know, a few years ago of the water contaminations that were occurring. We don't think, we've got some areas that have some concern, but the time period in which Radford was built and what we've done for improvements, we're not worried. We got a big problem, but we want to make sure we do a good job of survey work, because this could become a big grant that will ultimately rebuild some water lines, and particularly the connection lines to folks' houses. I'm not sure yet how that house piece of it's going to work. We're all wondering how that's going to go, but it is a good program, and we'll bring more. Somebody will bring more to you all as it starts transpiring a little bit more over the winter months.
I will say, the mailers that have gone out to, those were mailers that were generated from, I think, is it Community Housing Partners? Sorry. Yes, and so those weren't generated from us. So if some of the verbiage on those was a little confusing, those weren't generated in our office, they were generated from them. And so we're just trying to make sure we're clearing that up and people understand what's going on.
So you said that there was state funding available to mitigate the lines that are found with lead. Is that just for the city, or is that for citizens also, for them to receive funds to help fix their? Okay, so potential help for any citizens that have to, okay. Thank you.
That's, again, thank you. I'm so humbled. I cannot believe I was counting up one day, and I quit at 2,500 meetings that I've been to over the years, from planning commission to council meetings, and it's hard to believe how much time, and that was in the days when you used to have a lot of meetings. You didn't have these things called Zoom and that kind of thing, so you had to be there in person. But thank you again. It's been an honor to serve my community. It's been an honor to hopefully help others and make a difference. So thank you again.
Thank you, Dave.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Seth, what do you have?
I'll be brief. Again, I want to thank Joe Levine and the Resource Authority for their presentation today and all the good work you guys do. So I appreciate you taking the time tonight, and appreciate all you do for not only Radford but the other surrounding localities. So thank you. And you know, I know I've already thanked Greg and Bobby. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I've enjoyed it, and congratulations on your stepping down from this, and you spend more time with your grandkids and your family and outdoors. I know you like to hike, so thank you for your service and your friendship, and I wish you all the best, and I know we'll stay in touch. So thank you, Bobby. And David, I just wanted to, again, and I know I've told you this several times, thank you for everything. You know, much like I was telling Greg, you know, you're what Radford's all about, and I know that you love this city, and you gave your heart and soul to this city, and you did for a long time, and I know that Radford will always be a special place in your heart, and it's a better place because of you. So I appreciate all your time, and I know it takes away from family and friends, and it's a full-time effort that never stops, and you answered all of our emails, whether it be one in the morning or 6 in the morning. You were available, and I know that goes with your staff as well. So thank you for everything. It's a well-deserved retirement for you, and I wish you nothing but the best, and I know we'll stay in touch in the future. So thank you for everything you've done, and again, I wish you nothing but the best. And that's pretty much all that I have. I know that January and 2025 is right around the corner, and it'll be busy, and we'll be back to work. But in the meantime, I hope everyone has a very Merry Christmas, and if you're traveling, that you stay safe and time spent with loved ones. And that's all I got.
Thanks, Seth.
Yeah.
Jesse, what do you have?
So some of this is going to be redundant, unfortunately, so I'm going to try to keep the remarks to the individuals that are off to greener pastures. So Greg is probably one of the first city employees that I had interaction with. When I moved here, I guess it's going on 17 years. I was doing the math, and that just doesn't seem right, but I had 3 little boys in tow with a lot of energy, and I was thrilled to hear of this thing called a rec center. So I spent many hours there through basketball and the other organized events that they would put on, and I just want to thank them, because I know that was one of the things that did have an impact on my family when we were doing the tours of the area, and Greg was probably one of those first people that I interacted with. So here I am too. Thanks, Greg. And Bobby, It has been such a pleasure to get to know you. It really has been. I have found that we have far more in common than not, despite what some might think. And I really have the utmost respect for you, and I'm looking forward to see your future adventures, and I'm sure we'll run into each other. That's a good thing about being just a few miles. And David, you have been such a wonderful mentor to me, and unfortunately, when I sit down at night is when I start doing like my best thinking and texting and emailing. And apparently David also doesn't have a good sleep pattern, because it doesn't matter what time of day or night, he's always quick to respond. And it's not just the emergencies, but it's just the emergent things that could happen or that are in my mind. But also what I've come to realize is what a difficult position it is, because every 2 years, these positions shift, and they can shift really pretty quickly. And you are so good with working with every single member in the exact same way, with this same advocacy for our community. And I thank you for putting up with us and all those transitions and all the trainings that you've had to give, because that's exhausting. So really, just thank you and your family, because I know you've probably tried to be on vacation, and he's like, it's Jesse. I got to get to her. She's not going to let me be. So again, thank you guys for the sacrifice that you've also made. And I know I've mentioned several things in passing. So again, we'll just see each other in a different environment where I won't be blowing up your phone. So good for you. It's been a pretty busy few weeks in regards to the city side of things for me, so I'm just going to try to breeze through them. If you haven't noticed, I'm juggling a little bit of a cold, so my voice is in and out. But Radford Heritage Foundation had a meeting. We have 105 members, which we need more. You're going to find some of these membership forms out front. I know that several members of council have signed up, but I'm going to go ahead and hand these out and give them to a friend. And if you're not signed up, please join us. That is how we keep functioning. They do have 4 grants that they're actively working on, and a couple of them are pretty sizable. So I've given you some updates. Those are still progressing well. They did start Glencoe Sessions, and that was a big hit. We're going to do some more of that in the future. We sort of just put out a few concerts to see how the community would react, and they reacted very fondly. So we'll be doing more of that. I had a bit of an emergency meeting with Vicki at DSS in regards to the voucher program. We're working out some other things with that, and we have another meeting coming up. I'll keep you all posted. I did tour the West End Commerce Park again, because I was told that they'd made a lot of advancements, and so I just wanted to walk the property, and if you guys haven't done that lately, I would do it. It doesn't even look like the same place, so if you get a few minutes, head up there. I took some pictures, but it's really not the same as, as when we walk it. With the chamber, some of you may have saw me, but I was bagging groceries for the United Way at our Food City, and I am amazed at what a caring and compassionate community we have. I was just so touched by the fact that every single person, when they come through and heard what we were doing, I don't know if they liked the way I bagged their groceries, but they were very giving to those in the community that are most in need. So thank you to everyone who participated. The mayor and I took a tour of Aronzi. I'm not going to say too much, because they are going to come and present to us, and you guys are all going to want air purifiers. So I'm just going to warn you, save
love
your
mine.
money.
I already have one.
It's pretty impressive. So I'm not going to give too much away, because they have offered to come and present. They may have a gift for us too, we're hoping. I had a Department of Social Service meeting. I did have the opportunity to meet with Craig Meadows, the one-on-one, so we had a really good conversation on priorities. I wanted to remind everyone that Adele's daughter is making keychains for our fur babies in our community. So if you haven't got a hold of Adele and gotten a keychain or a necklace or some beautiful bauble, and I believe they're being sent all the way from England from her daughter. If you haven't, you need to. It goes to a good cause, and Adele's pretty pleased with those efforts. Small Business Saturday, needless to say, we're all a little bit broker. The holiday tree lighting, Elizabeth and your team, wow, what attendance. Do you have any idea how many people attended? Did you even attempt to figure that out? Oh, I would say at least, because the mayor did a good job welcoming everyone, but they had so much going on other than just the tree lighting. So if you have any littles, or even if you don't have littles, you just want to get in the holiday spirit, go. They had Santa, they had, oh gosh, stories, hot chocolate, bells, little concert, and then, of course, the lighting of the tree. I think several of us went to the All RU holiday gathering, and that was wonderful, and thank you to the university for inviting us. I want to invite one person, because we can't be a quorum, but on January 7th, I've scheduled a ride out on our bus route with Miss Melissa, so we're looking at 10 a.m., so if anyone wants to ride public transportation with us that day, that's when we're doing it. Mentioned our chamber meeting. We are working diligently on the next large event. You'll hear more about that. I believe they may be presenting to us. The farmers market had their event last weekend, and again, I have less money than I started out with. The holiday parade tomorrow night. Apparently, rain or shine, we're all going to be out there, so I look forward to seeing everyone in our community. And I think that is about it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Kelly, what do you have for us?
Not as much as you had.
That was busy.
Yeah. Bobby, it's been a pleasure. I think one of my favorite things about sitting on council with you is hearing your unique perspective on all of the things that we have encountered and dealt with, and you've really given me articulated some new ways to look at things and thinking outside the box. So I really appreciate that from you. I'm going to miss that. So be ready for some phone calls or text messages when I need a little bit of outside of the box thinking from you. But okay, all right. Enjoy all the grandkids and all the family. It's been a pleasure to have you up here with me. Greg, oh, well, he's not here. I do not have many interactions with Greg, but the ones that I do have are definitely positive, and he does amazing things for our community. The person that does know a lot about Greg and playing for him and working with him is my husband, Adam. So he's got many, many years with the Rec Hall and all of the different things. So he was telling me some stories about Greg and him back in the day, and you can tell that he's really loved by everybody in the community, so thank you for your service. David, I've been avoiding saying anything because I have thoroughly enjoyed having you to my left every single council meeting and all of the meetings in between that we've spent many hours here. It's going to be very difficult to come sit in this chair without you in January, and I'm going to miss you terribly. You always have a great smile on your face no matter what we're talking about. You're always very positive. Like everybody has said, you are always quick to respond, day or night, Saturday or Sunday, it doesn't matter. And I know I have some, probably like Jesse, some really off-the-wall questions or comments that are just popping out of nowhere, and you always do your very best to give us all you've got. And I can't imagine when we were going down the road of talking about city managers, I was shocked to hear that the tenure for a city manager is, I think they said 7 years, 10 years at most. And you have far surpassed that. So we are extremely lucky to have you in our community for so long. I think that, something that Greg said resonated with me. He was talking about all the hard work that goes into everything that the Rec Hall has done, and it's expensive because it takes away one of the most precious things in your life, which is time, away from your family, away from your loved ones, away from birthdays or get-togethers. And I can't imagine how many hours and things that you have missed willingly to come and help the city and put all of your effort and time and love into our community and its citizens. And I see that more now than I realized, our city puts into before I was on council. So, but those things, like Greg said, are priceless. The return on those are absolutely priceless, and I can't imagine your heart must be swelling with joy looking back on all of the things that you've accomplished for us, and I can't be more appreciative for everything that you've done. So don't go too far, because I'm still going to be asking you questions. And I'm sure, we all will be using you as a resource for many years to come, just like I go to Tom and ask him about stuff from time to time. So don't go too far, okay, because we'll all miss you, need your guidance. Other than that, I'm excited about the parade, as always. I love Christmas. I love every holiday, so I'm excited about it all. I have not been able to go to the tree lighting, but I love the fact that the tree has just beautiful lights. They're gorgeous, so thank you to our electric department for putting those up. And thank you to all the special things that the library does. I'm so thankful that you guys got a little bit of extra money to help out with everything, so that's great. Thank you to Juanita and everybody, Jenny, that put forth all the effort into the employee luncheon. That was so excited to see everybody there and enjoying a meal together and winning some prizes. Hopefully that fire pit goes to you, Juanita, next year. We'll have to keep an eye on her, putting her name in the hat a few more extra times. So that was really enjoyable to see everybody there. So I wish everybody is safe and happy Christmas and New Year. I know we have a lot of work ahead of us, but I couldn't be more thankful for the people to work with to get the job done. So just very thankful.
Thank you, Kelly. Bobby, what do you have?
Well, just want to wish David a happy retirement, and every successful company, city, it doesn't matter. If you have success, it's only because you have the right leadership, and we have that. I know that for a fact that David is the heart of the city. I know that you've always been there, and tough times, good times, like she was saying, like you come in here, you've got a smile, you're always positive, and you work so hard behind the scenes, your staff, everybody's working hard, trying to come up with a solution and then bring it forward to us and all that, but you always pull it off. Every single time, you and your staff, y'all pull it off, and we come up, we get an answer, something that we can work with. We always work together, and I know that you work probably a whole lot harder than anyone that I know, to be honest. So I'm thankful for that. Thankful that we've had you for the length of time that we've had. That means a lot to the community. And the fact that we have so much pride in this community, I think it's really a result of you. Because they know that you're going to be there. And they know when they call, you answer. So thank you. And regarding I've been talking earlier, so I don't know how much talking I need to do, but once again, everybody here has been supportive to me, but likewise, we have been supportive to each other. And once again, I'm going to say this one more time, because, it's not, most of the things that we vote on, it's common sense. It's either, is it good for the city or it's not? So it's not hard to have a unanimous vote on it. And for something that we disagree with, we've always kind of backed off, just leave, anything I voted against, the mayor always said, okay, we'll come back to it later. And we always work together on it. And sometimes it takes a little bit more time before we pass something, because we want to make sure that it's the right thing to do. And every time during that process, I've always been so impressed that if one city council member says, I'm not ready to vote on this, then we just back off. It doesn't matter who it is. So thank you for that. That means a lot to me. And my recommendation, anybody out there that wants to be on the city council, I would strongly advise that you do it, but there's a whole lot more work behind the scenes than what you realize, and it is hard work. It does require a lot of time, but I don't think you will ever regret doing it. And one other thing, then I'll be finished. The New River Valley Community Services, which I've been spending a lot of time with, I feel like they're family. Just kind of like you guys and ladies, you know. I've really gotten to know them well. We spent a lot of time together. We've had some opportunities, and just like we have here sometimes, and we've worked together on that. And I'm so thankful for them being here in our community. So I'm thankful for that. And once again, I just want to say goodbye to everybody. I'll be here, but I won't be here. So that's it.
Thank you so much, and I'll just say what everyone else has said. Thank you for your perspective and for your good heart for this community. Thank you for putting your name forward. That's not an easy thing to do. This is a tough time to serve in any kind of public office, and we really appreciate you being a part of the team and helping us all work through everything that we all try to figure out. So we appreciate you, and thank you for all your time and energy. Yeah, to Greg, and I know he's not here this evening, I'm really glad he had the opportunity to serve as director the last few years. After, so many decades of service in just about every single job you could do for Parks and Recreation, he not only knew the position, he knew the people and knew how to make things happen. And, when we had Ken Goodyear retire, who did such an amazing job for so long, that's a big void to fill. And Greg has more than risen to the occasion. Every opportunity I've had to work with him, both before and after he became director, has been amazing. And we're really, really appreciative of all of his service and all the work that he's done, and can't say thank you enough. And we'll still see him playing pickleball at the rec center, so that's pretty cool. That'll be good. David, I don't think any of us can say thank you enough. This has not just been a job. This has been your life for 40 years. And all of us recognize that you don't even know the meaning of the word vacation. You may know the meaning of an hour or two, if that. I was going to apologize to Lisa and Abby. We're kind of sickening on you a little bit, but nobody is more dedicated to detail. In addition to all the things that we read in the proclamation that you've done, you know every single job in this city. You've been a mentor to all of the employees. To Bob Asbury, I have to say, you did a great job hiring him. Tom, you did a great job promoting him. You all had just the right vision in mind because, again, no one cares more for this city than David Redpath. And no one knows more about how things work. And you do leave behind a gargantuan set of shoes to fill. And we are going to do our best to continue on. But I want you to know how much we all appreciate you, and how much we recognize that this job is not easy, that running a community is met with challenges, and you've had more than your fair share, and especially in the last 5 years, who would have expected all the challenges that we've had and all the ways that we've found solutions. And I think, Bobby and others have mentioned, you find that answer. It may not be the answer we want to hear. It may not be the answer that we would love to have, but it's an answer that moves us forward. And we continue to work ahead step by step, day by day, and take your lead as an example. And we can't say thank you enough. Jesse said it very well. You make every member of council who comes into this thinking they know what they're going to do or maybe confused as heck, and you help us figure out what we need to do and how we need to do this. And we can't thank you enough for that. There'll be more to say as we celebrate you a little bit further as we go on, but just know that every member of this community recognizes the hard work, the dedication, the effort, and the energy, and we appreciate you so much for everything that you've done. I'm not going to say much more other than I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season. I want to also give my kudos to the library and to the electric department staff. You make this community look wonderful for all of our holidays here in December and January, and Again, that's something that people take for granted, but it's a real effort that doesn't happen unless the people are behind it that make it happen, and we say thank you for that. I hope to see everybody at the parade. I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. One last piece of business that, since we don't have another meeting, I did want to mention this. Jenny, I think January 8th is the day we have coalesced around for us to meet again as a council. That will be an organizational meeting for council. We'll be welcoming Guy Wolford in, and he'll be sworn in, as well as Kelly sworn in that night for her second term. And then we will do some discussing and talking and working, and there's lots of work to do, and all of us are going to continue to do it. So we thank you all very much. Have a wonderful holiday, and good night.